Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I know we're a bit late in the week for updates, but I do have several for you, and I do appreciate your patience. Um, in our shared YouTube community, we all know it's been a little bit, un- uh, it's been a little rough lately. And so I just want to extend condolences to everyone who knew Triggered Limey, his family, his friends, many of those on YouTube who worked with him and associated with him. And my heart goes out to you. And I just want to remind everyone that grace is always appropriate. And we all struggle. And so kindness now is what we all need. So on that, let us move forward to some true crime. I'd like to say hi to Mousy and Shill and Liam. Liam and Shill, thank you for being here tomorrow. Karen, Rocket Couch, Maye, Juju, thank you all for joining us. We have 4. Oh, and Sean, hello. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for joining me here tonight. I have quite a few for you tonight. 4 at least. Okay. And if you saw the thumbnail, well, just bring it up, make it easy for you. These are the 4. Hello, April. It's nice to see you. E Jean Carroll, her verdict is in for her trial. We're a little bit behind. It was a week ago, but it's here. We also have an update on Lee Carter, aka Viper, the rapper out of Houston. Chad Daybell, a little bit more news there on Chad Daybell, as exciting as that hearing was that you all were with me with. And also Duane Davis, aka Keffe D, in regards to the Tupac murder allegations in his trial. And there's some news there too. So these 4 I'd like to catch you up on. There's so much more we have to catch up on. But we will. We're getting there a couple at a time. I mean, things are just moving along. So I asked you guys, all right? Those of you in the chat, do you have a preference where you want to start? Because I could start. I'm ready for all 4. You want to start with the trial for E Jean Carroll that the verdict is in? You want to go on the new charges on Viper? The little bit on Daybell? Oh, yeah, it does, doesn't it, Liam? It does look a little empty. Let's see if we can fix that for you. Make it a little busy. How's that? A little bit better? Hey, Charlie. Good to see you. All right. We're going on a banner hunt, are you, Juju? We'll look up there. It's there. It's there. Okay. Hey, Jin. Yeah. Yay for Billy. All right. So what's it going to be? Carroll, Carter, Daybell, or Davis? Oh, come on. Somebody say something. First 2 votes gets it. Or I'm going to have to just go with whatever. Viper? All right, Liam. I like that one. Viper's kind of cool. Dealer's choice. Hey, Mark. Oh, hi, Mark. It's good to see you. So I got a Viper, I got a dealer's choice, and I got a Daybell. Somebody want to break the, all right, you know what? Liam was brave and put the first one in. So I'm going to do Viper and then Daybell next. How's that, Sean? Okay. The one with being a good boy dog, I don't know. Being the best good boy dog. I don't think we've got any good boy dogs in this group here. Oh, I did not do that choice. I did not. No, Liam, thank you for putting that voice in my head. That always makes me feel better. Okay, so on that, let me just get ready. We're going to start with Viper. Let me just get his case up. Oh, all right. Let me put that back up. Okay, so here we go. In regards to Lee Carter, Viper, okay, Mr. Carter was accused of holding a woman against her will for years. Remember, we talked about this before. But what's actually going on with him is that there are some, other things that happened. He made bail. Okay, bail was set. All right. January 4th, he was arrested for the aggravated kidnapping of a woman that was held against her years. Now, those charges were from last April when they went into a shed on his property that was boarded up, broke in, found a 70-pound woman in very bad shape, took her to the hospital. She made allegations that she was being held against her will, locked in that shed where there was just a mattress and a toilet in the corner and just snack food given to her regularly, etc., etc. Quite some large allegations. Said she was picked up on the side of the road when she was pregnant years before. He had offered her help, and he had not let her leave since then. That he had coerced her, beat her, given her drugs, tied her up, all kinds of stuff. All right. He made his bail of $100,000. Okay. And he was supposed to be GPS monitored. He had a nightly curfew, and he was ordered to have no contact with the victim. Makes sense, right? Since he's being accused of beating her, sexual assault, all kinds of things, kidnapping, holding her against her will. All right. His defense attorney is George Powell. The prosecutor in this case that's making statements of record is Melissa Hoffman. And we have Judge Shirlene Cruz, and this case is out of Harris County. Now, that's what I would call the history. The new stuff that I'm going to bring you is, well, he had a bond hearing on January 25th, and his bond was revoked because it appears that Lee Carter, aka Viper, the Houston rapper, could not stay out of contact with the victim. There are 12 violations on file of him having contact with her, calling her, visiting her, etc., etc., etc. Well, it really decided to go ahead and charge him now with violation of the protective order wantonly, because while she was in the hospital recently and being spoken, the detectives were speaking with her. He was calling her right then on the phone, blatantly, just calling her up and, talking to her about this, that, and the other thing. What is she telling people? Blah, blah, blah. Well, Detective Harris in particular, went to the bond hearing to have the bond revoked. That said, based on the allegations that they have in the conversations with the patient, that she may feel intimidated. She has a relationship with him not in her best interest, and that she does often feel threatened, and that he and coerced, and that he is taking advantage of this situation. Okay. And so they decided that they were going to charge him again with breaking the protective order to stay away from the victim and the plaintiff in the charge, violating the court order, and they threw him back in jail. And he's going to have to stay there now until his trial. Okay. He does have an attorney. He has an attorney making statements everywhere, speaking to the man's family. Lee Carter has a father and relatives and an ex-wife who are all coming forward in saying that the woman who made the allegations last April was in a consensual relationship with him, because everywhere they went, he introduced her as his girlfriend, and she never said anything. And he says that he has several children with her, and that there were actual authorities that came and did wellness checks on the children, and they're going to be able to submit this in court and show that it was a consensual relationship. She was right there. She never said anything to anybody, and they had children, and they had these visits, and everything's just fine. The ex-wife in particular has come out and made statements on Instagram and TikTok that say that he is a pleasant man. She has children with him. He's never, ever been violent. And that it's the woman who's the problem, that she is a drug addict, and that she makes these kind of allegations because he would not give her drugs or whenever she felt things were wrong. This woman that made the charges is actually the woman he left his wife for. He cheated on his wife with this woman, and then they divorced. And then she's still sticking up for him. And yet, in her divorce, she said he was the lowest of the low and he beat her and degraded her regularly. But now she's saying he's not violent. I mean, she just said what she said in court to get the divorce, but now it's a different story. And the reason I say all these, like a lot of this is just drama, right? It's just all, but it's so convoluted. Like, I don't know what side of the story. First of all, it seems very odd that they did the charges in April of 2023, but he didn't get arrested until January, until the beginning of January of 2024. Whether they could find him or they could find her, or they were having trouble processing or going through the property deeds. Leif Carter plans on bringing to his defense the fact that he could not have held her there for years and years, since he's only lived there for 13 months, even though he's owned the property longer. It's actually registered to his business that he runs his rap consortium under. You know, he self-produced all these rap. He's actually quite popular as a rapper on his own. Quite weird stuff that he did, not exactly mainstream. In other news on that is that the producing company that helped him get the music out there has decided to cut all ties with him. They originally were going to just beat feet, but then they decided to settle all the refunds and pay him whatever he was owed and just not work anymore with him. And they did it, you know, the proper way. But they were quite offended by all of the stories and his attitude about everything. That was on other news and in an article. I haven't found any actual legal documents separating their agreement. But then again, I never found an legal document that actually proved their agreement together. So there's that. Anyway, we'll have more on February 13th after his arraignment. He's going to say not guilty. Okay, and that's his defense, and he's going to go forward, and he plans on fighting everything. What else I have? It's just a few pictures. This is our judge, Shirlene Cruz. She's very well, was a prosecutor, moved her way up in the ranks, and she's kind of no business. When she heard that he was in contact with the victim, she said, that's it, bail revoked, going back in, we're done. We're done with you. That's it. Just put him back in. All right. This I wanted to show you the difference. This picture here is the day of arrest with the crazy hair. Okay, with all that crazy hair. The day after is actually when he went to his bail hearing to get when he got out. Okay. Quite cleaned up, a little bit different. All in contrast to a few years before when this was his rap persona. Okay. It's about I'd say that's about 7 years old, that picture, you know. Well, that's the pictures he puts out, these younger pictures with all of his actual rap that he, you know, self-produced, you know. Yeah. But anyway, interesting, you know, because am I mixing this up with a different case? No, the victim's not missing. We just didn't know where she was. Articles, and I put quite a few down there for you. The police have been in contact with her the whole time. They just weren't releasing her name or saying where she was in all the first release when he was arrested, Jujubee. But since then, and I don't want this disturbing picture up here. Let me put the other one up there. Let me put this one up there. Since then, they have said that she's alive and she's well. What we don't know is where the baby was that she was pregnant with, where she had that baby. But the previous ex-wife says that he has 3 children with this new woman. And so that, you know, should actually say that there was something going on and that there was a lot there as far as other agencies being involved with the children and whatnot. And so he's going to use that as his defense, you know. Stockholm syndrome. Oh, I know. Stockholm syndrome is what you mean. This is what the officers are saying in the case, that after talking with her, that she has been plied with drugs, that she has been manipulated in ways, that she admits to having a drug problem, that her behavior is totally, they do feel that she needs to be protected, that there is something seriously wrong here, and that's why they're intervening. Yep. You don't want to have bedhead when you get, yes, right, shave your head because you don't want to have bedhead when you get arrested. You know what? Not a bad idea. not a bad idea. I can't say I don't agree, you know. And this is supposed to be less disturbing. This is the least disturbing of things, yes, of some of the cases that I have looked at recently. Yeah. Mm. There are other cases. The woman was found. Okay, this is also the case, and I linked the article down below where they found a previous dead body on the same property where they rescued the woman from. Okay, and also the woman who was missing, the victim in this case, has also from the hospital, every time that she puts in a 911 call and gets released from the locked up shed, and gets transported because she's in such bad shape to the hospital, she ends up going home with him. She has had numerous admissions to the hospital to where they thought that there was abuse or something going on, but she was always released in his custody. She willingly would go home with him. And so that was part of the problem of actually getting him, physically arrested at the time. Okay, but they did go forward after the last one, and they arrested him in January. But the original complaint starts from April of 2023. Now he's got aggravated kidnapping charges on him, and now he has another felony of violating a protective order. But they seem to be going out of their way, but they're having just as much difficulty understanding where everything's at with this woman as we did. Last time we talked, we didn't know where she was. But apparently she is well. She's been in and out of the hospital. She's alive and speaking with the authorities on a regular basis. They're keeping good tabs on her, according to several of the articles that I read within the last week. And I linked quite a few of them down there for you. So, but they found her. Okay. Now let's just check for questions. All right. Yeah. Oh, that's another thing, Liam. If you can't shave your head bald, make it long enough to tie it back, so it's nice and neat. That's a good idea with the hair. How about like not committing an aggravated kidnapping or any kind of assault against anybody, and that way nobody's gonna look to arrest you. That'd be good. Right. Okay, so Sean had said Daybell. So let's go to Daybell. Let's go to Daybell next. Okay, just a quick refresher on Daybell, and we're all, most of us here in the chat, and perhaps those listening, are pretty familiar with Daybell. It's been going on for quite a while. But anyway, Chad Daybell, he's up for 3 charges of first-degree murder for Ty Lee, JJ, and his wife, Tammy Daybell. There was a joint affidavit with conspiracy with Lori Vallow. Those trials were severed last year in March on 2023. We know Lori Vallow is serving her life sentences now. Her trial's over. He entered a plea of not guilty. His trial in Ada County, Idaho, is still scheduled for April 1st of 2024. The death penalty, through recent hearings and motions, is still on the table. Just Boyce allowed camera for hearing and canceled last minute. However, he is allowing it uncontrolled through. We did see the hearing, and the attorney prior requested full Vallow transcript, and that got approved. The recent hearing that we all watched was when the defense attorney, John Pryor, had motioned to be dismissed, vacate the case. He said that Chad can't pay him, and he really needs a attorney that is up to speed and accredited for the death penalty cases. Now, here's the thing. In Idaho, only if you use a public defender do you have to have 2 accredited defense attorneys that are accredited with death penalty cases, which means they've had 10 or more of these high-profile cases, and they different qualifications with experience. Okay. However, if you hire your own attorney, which John Pryor had been Chad Daybell's attorney since day one, okay, that doesn't apply. You get to choose whoever you want. You're allowed to hire your own attorney. It's your choice. Okay. Now, John Pryor tried to say it was a matter of money at first, but John Pryor hasn't been paid in a year or so. He owns Chad Daybell's house. In a year or so ago, Chad Daybell was declared indigent, that he qualified for a public defender because he had no money. And yet John Pryor still was his attorney for that whole year. So I don't get that. I mean, he negotiated to have the trial separated, or he negotiated to have certain testimony admitted or not. He was there every day for the Lori Vallow trial. And now he's saying that all of that was unpaid. Okay. But anyway, the judge denied his motion because he talked to both John Pryor and Chad Daybell. And as we both heard in the hearing, that they were giving different testimony than what they said in their motion. And the judge quite clearly called that out too. He said, that's not what you said in your motion. Because John Pryor said he wanted to stay on the case. And Chad Daybell said he still wanted him on the case. So there, he's still on the case. Now, he can bring on anybody he wants to work with them. Okay, as far as another attorney if he wants. He said he's been looking all along. I don't know. He's only looking for particular people out of state or this and that. And the people that he wanted were not even accredited yet as death penalty attorneys in Idaho. So that's kind of futile, especially at this late date, because there'll be no more continuances going forward here. Like that was his last effort and he didn't get moved. The judge kept it on the schedule for April 1st. All right. In the meantime, the other news in regards to Chad Daybell is the prosecutor, Rachel Smith, who was hired back in March of 2021 to help with the Daybell case with Lindsay Blake and Rob Wood. This is Rachel Smith, and you may have saw her at the prosecution table even during the Lori Vallow trial. She is a very strong attorney, a prosecuting attorney for victim advocates, and she pushed hard for justice for Ty Lee and JJ. She is actually resigning as of February 28th. However, the statement out of the prosecutor's office is that this was because she was hired to do a certain job, which is coming like to an end. The cases are very similar. She's still working on jury selection with everyone. She's still getting witness prep done. But by February 28th, she is able to move on to other cases of her own. She is an attorney out of Missouri, actually, with her own private practice. And she needed a special ad hoc files to actually be here for this trial. Now, coincidentally, there's another trial, Trent McBeal in Idaho, that the prosecutor there is actually asking for Rachel Smith to come on board with. And so they're working on that. But it doesn't have anything to do with her resigning. The actually plan to resign at a certain time was already in the plan because, they do pay outside attorneys and it's budgetary and this, that, and the other thing. So she'll be going on to another case. But Rob Wood made some great statements about her work and that, she did such good work in protecting the rights of the victims and getting justice for the victims and moving the case forward. And I couldn't say enough good about her. So it's not going to delay the case at all, according to the prosecution, in anything coming out of judicial right now. He did say money wasn't a problem in the hearing. He did, didn't he? I know, you know what? This is a good question, Juju. I don't think he really wanted out. I think he wanted a continuance. I do. I think he wanted a continuance. What he did get was partially what he wanted. Like he wanted the court to say, we'll give you an attorney to work with you. But that they can't do that if you're private. If you hire a private attorney, it's all or nothing. They can't just say, okay, we'll give you a death penalty attorney from the public defender's office to work with you. They can't. They could give him allowance to bring somebody on. Okay. However, it wasn't going to cause a delay. They said, go ahead, we'll speed up whatever we can to get anybody on with you, but it's not going to delay anything. Perhaps he thought that Daybell would plead out and that didn't occur. It's just gross speculation. True. After seeing Lori's after seeing Lori's trial, I was wondering why he didn't, because it is his property, and they are saying, he's saying that Lori is more culpable than he is, and in his request to have the death penalty removed as an option, he said they pushed hard to say that Lori was the real villain here. He just did whatever she wanted, so that makes him less culpable. I don't think so. They're not removing the death penalty as an option. The judge didn't find that to be credible reason to remove it as an option. It's still the horribleness of the crime, the death of those children, what was done to those bodies. It doesn't matter who said to do what. It was done. And that's the point. And that's why justice has to be done. So the judge didn't want to hear that, Yeah, I don't know how he thinks it's going to go better with any jury, unless he thinks that a logical jury, if they can find some doubt in some of the evidence, but I don't know. I guess if you are in that position, you may as well go for broke and hope for the best with the jury. I guess so. Because he's going to be in jail no matter what at this point. Exactly. He still committed the murders. Yeah. What is that, like, false logic? I know, but what I mean is, like, how we look at the details of a case, how even all of us, we sit here and we talk about the evidence and we go, I think the guy is guilty, but did they prove it? Did they have enough evidence to convince me without a doubt? And this is a death penalty case, which means it's got to be unanimous. Okay. There's no, like, you can't just have one juror say, whoop, no. And it's serious when it's a death penalty. They know they're going to be putting someone to death, not just in jail for the rest of their lives, but to death. And that can be, that's a problem, Yeah. It's more serious. They take their time. I hope that jury, a more serious jury, like, all juries are serious. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to misspeak and be callous about it. I just mean when it's a death penalty case, like, it's like they know they're going to be taking someone's life, and there could be some hesitance there. I wonder what he would have to do to have the death penalty removed. He certainly hasn't shown remorse. No, he hasn't. And the only reason that Lori Vallow had it removed was a timing factor and punishment to the prosecutors for delaying certain things, which put it outside of speedy trial, which she wanted. And, well, it was part of the bargaining chips. Yes, Sean, I hear you. Even if he was only going along with her, these were children. There was a special place in hell for them. Exactly. I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't know if any of you are following the Montgomery case right now. It is not one that I have on the roster for updates, but I am following it personally. Those kind of things affect me. But I was quite surprised by the opening statements. I personally think the prosecutor did a great job in the defense. Well, it's pretty hard to defend somebody who won't even show up in court to see the jury and plead his case. The testimony today, especially by the uncle of Harmony, or actually the uncle of Adam Montgomery, was heartbreaking to me. You could see that he was physically affected by what he has been gone through. It was pretty hard. Yeah. Hey, Cat Ninja. All right. So now we have two others left. We have Carroll versus Trump in the verdict. We can go over the end of that trial. And we also have Duane Davis, a.k.a. Keffe D, charged with the murder of Tupac. We have updates on both. So, all right, again, now I did the other two in order. I know you said dealer's choice, but I don't want to choose. Like, somebody give me a name, please. Well, I hope everybody was having a good day today. I'm not used to streaming this late in the week. Tupac. Okay, Mark. Mark. Of course, Mark wins. We're gonna do the Tupac case next, and then we'll end on a pleasant note. Well, I don't know if it's pleasant, but we're gonna end on the note of Carroll versus Trump. Okay. This Tupac Shakur was gunned down by a white shooters from a white Cadillac years ago. He was in a black sedan with Suge Knight. Suge Knight was also injured. Tupac died of his injuries at the hospital after transport. There were 4 people in the white Cadillac. There is only one person alive from the white Cadillac. That is Duane Davis. There is only one person alive to this day from the black sedan, and that is Suge Knight. Suge Knight is in jail. Duane Davis is also. Okay, Duane Davis, Keffe D, has done a lot of promo in regards to his gangster lifestyle. He was pretty big up, This all goes back to East Coast, West Coast rap feuds for the 2 different what we would call rack labels, music labels. P. Diddy's Bad Boys ones from the East Coast, which Duane Davis, who was the head of pretty much the gang in that area for that, they produced like bodyguards and protection services for Bad Boy Records in P. Diddy's crew. And then there was Suge Knight's team in Tupac and all, and they did the same. There was a whole gang that protected them. They're the rappers there. And the 2 did not get along, obviously, okay, as these things go. All right. So this murder was actually part of that feud, so to speak. It involved Duane Davis's nephew. Well, Duane Davis was indicted by the Clark County grand jury 30 years after the crime and charged with 1 count of murder with the use of a deadly weapon with a gang enhancement for the September 1996 shooting of Tupac Shakur. And again, he was the only alive occupant of the white Cadillac. I mean, this is just refresher. We've gone over this before. This case remained cold for decades until reinvigorated in 2018 when Duane Davis, aka Keffe D, needed some money, whatever. He went on a promo thing. He put out a book. He started doing interviews. He started talking about his gang life and the murder of Tupac Shakur. Okay. Specifically, Duane Davis's own admissions to his involvement in this homicide investigation that he provided to numerous different media outlets. Some of those statements included that he was the one that gave the gun to the shooter. He provided it. He was the one that offered the thing. He got the people together. His nephew was in the car. It was in regards to his nephew and an incident at a hotel in Las Vegas prior. His own statements and words. Okay, remember that. Everything he said that he did is what they're using to make these charges. Okay. His second arraignment got delayed. There was a couple of things. In November, he pled not guilty. He was assigned to public defenders, Arroyo and Cano. He was detailed until the bail decision motion was filed, which was filed and he couldn't meet. And at that time, he was looking at hiring another highfalutin lawyer, Rob Goodman, who deals with a lot of criminal mafia cases. His family, his father did mafia cases. His mother was a judge and did some lawyering. Really, really high-end lawyer he was looking at bringing. And we talked about that for a while. Like, that, was he really that connected? Did he still really have that kind of money? That never really panned out. The prosecution in this case is not looking for the death penalty, but they're trying to sew it up. We have a trial scheduled pretty promptly for June 3rd. Well, here comes the updates. Duane Davis, Keffe D, decided, even though prosecution and defense were only looking for $100,000 bail or more, Clark County District Judge Carly Kearney decided that $750,000 was more likely for his life of crime, that he should have to pay a lot more to get out of jail. that he was a flight risk, that he wasn't going to obey the law. She decided he could have this go out on house arrest with electronic monitoring if he came up with $750,000 worth of bail. He has a status hearing scheduled for the 20th. Okay. He has hired a new attorney, Carl Arnold, and they have new defense statements. They're still on track for this trial that is scheduled for June 3rd. Okay. This is Carly Kearney. This is our judge. Welcome. Introducing to our judge. Hello, Wrecker. Nice to see you. She's no business. She definitely thought that he should pay more for band and wants stricter restrictions on him to getting out. Now, during his bail plea, Mr. Davis had said that he wasn't a flight risk, that he has been out of the gang for some time. He's retired. He's got a home life. He's a sickly man now with lower income and needs to be out to be with family at the end of his life, you know, and based on the evidence, all they have is his word. Okay. And that he wasn't violent. But Carly Kearney thought otherwise, looking at his past, and said, I don't think so. $750,000 is more likely what you need to get out of jail. Okay. This is Carl Arnold, the criminal defense attorney, a very serious and high upscale. He is a top 10 attorney for criminal cases. Okay. He's out of Howard University. He's one of the top 100 in the area. He is top notch, and he took the case. And here's what Mr. Arnold has to say about the case. All you have to do is look at what they're presenting. All the evidence that they have is Keffe D's own statements, which he himself says were produced in a book to make money and for entertainment purposes. That there is not one scrap of physical evidence that actually goes with any of the statements that he made. And that all of the other statements that they are using from other people are hearsay. Nobody knows, because everybody who knows what actually happened, except for Suge Knight, are dead and gone. The rest of the occupants of the white Cadillac are no longer there. If they spoke to anybody else, it would be hearsay, third party. How is that going to get into evidence? Carl Arnold is going to make sure it doesn't. He's serious. He's serious. He also says he's going to the jail to speak with Suge Knight. And Suge Knight has put it on record that he is not coming forward to testify for the defense or the prosecution. He ain't doing it. He ain't speaking on what happened. But Carl Arnold says he's going to go have a talk with him and try to get him to tell the story. We'll see what happens. I found that very interesting, that Carl Arnold thinks he's going to convince Suge Knight to do something he doesn't want to do. Suge Knight is already serving time for other crimes. He's got no reason to come out. He's got nothing to deal for. You know, it's not like he's got pending charges or anything that they can barter with him. And it doesn't sound like he would either. It sounds like he's going by a code, and he ain't talking to anybody about anything. It's 30 years later, and he doesn't want anybody to talk about this. And actually, he said, I wouldn't testify it even if Keffe D had anything to do with it, because I wouldn't wish jail or this life on anyone. That was Suge Knight's statement recently, and I put that article down there for you to read. It doesn't seem like this man's going to have it very easy convincing Suge Knight to testify, but I give him a lot of credit for wanting to try. And he makes a valid point. He's out there talking to anybody. Look at the charges. All they have is Keffe D's own statements in a book, in some interviews. And that's just some old man blowing steam about being bigger than he is. Entertainment is what they're calling it. The defense is everything I said was for entertainment value only. None of it's true. You can't prove any of it's true. So legally, I'm fascinated by this. How is this going to go? How is this going to go? A lot of big names shame that none of their dogs are good boys. Exactly, Rocket Couch. They were big name cases, but they're definitely not good boys and good dogs. Sorry, you know. She'll says, Claire, speaking of mafia, my parents were at Al Capone's home, now a restaurant in Cuba, about 1 week ago. I must share pics. I wish you would. I'd like to see Al Capone's home. Yeah. He looks seriously serious. Yes, he looks like a serious lawyer. Like, I'm happy to see a serious lawyer on this case. I don't want shenanigans. Like, I want serious lawyering, and I think this man's going to bring it. I think that judge is going to bring it too. Oh, she don't look like she mess around either. Like, my money's there. Yep. Oh yeah. Suge Knight's guy, too many hidden bodies to start talking about anything he hasn't already been charged with. Exactly. Exactly. And he said straight out, I ain't talking to anybody about this. And I wouldn't wish jail on anyone. So it doesn't matter what anybody did. Like, it's 30 years later. He's not going for the defense. He's not going for the prosecution. He don't want to talk to nobody. He's probably worried that anything he has to say will get him in more trouble. Could be. Could be. Hmm. Thank you for sending the pictures, Shield. I can't check Discord while I'm live, but we will after. But thank you. All right. So, any more questions in regards to Duane Davis, Keffe D? How do you guys feel? I mean, my question to you is, do you think his own words are enough for the conviction? I'm wondering. He ran his label using gang tactics and didn't bother hiding them. One crack and the whole damn thing spills out. Exactly. And he's sticking to gang tactics. I don't, blame him. I really don't. Or he's going by code. I don't think Suge Knight is going to be movable on these. I really don't. I don't expect to see him on the witness list of either unless he's subpoenaed as a hostile witness, and that's it. Like, I don't really know how they're going to get him to cooperate. I don't think anything's going to be willingly. Juju says, if you say you killed someone, I believe you. Well, you see, he's not saying he killed him. He's saying he provided the gun, which qualifies for murder under the statute that they're charging this man with. If he actually provided the weapon and the means to do it, it doesn't matter if he pulled the trigger or not, because of the gang enhancement code that they put on there. That's the problem. He could go down for murder, even though he says he's not the one that pulled the trigger. He is not saying he pulled the trigger. He's saying he supplied the weapon. He encouraged the drive-by, like the people in the car. He facilitated. And he was high enough up in that gang as a leader, so to speak, of that gang at the time, that it could have been something the prosecution is saying that he ordered it. Yeah, Wrecker. Snitches get stitches. Yep, that's the code. Yep. I think they would have to get external corroboration. Yes, and they are. But most of the witnesses, the actual eye-on witnesses, are dead. So they only got collaboration through hearsay and third-party testimony, and that could be a sticky wicket. And that's a legal quagmire there. This is what is enticing me about the case. Not only the fact that he's 30 years old, and they're actually, what first piqued my interest is that it was all based on this guy's book, which was from years ago. And then they searched his house, and they say they found some evidence to collaborate statements that he made in the book. Okay. And so I'm really curious, but they're not saying what that is. So I have to, we need to see the evidence and see what happens in the trial. Okay. Because right now it just looks like what he said, or what enticed them to do it 30 years later. If he's saying he did that, then why not believe him? If he lied, then don't lie about murder. You did that to yourself, sir. Yes, but they do it for cred. They do it for money. They did it to sell a book. He's saying it's all entertainment value. That's what you get when you buy a gangster's book. It's just all lies and made up. I mean, he's a criminal, Juju. Are we expecting him to tell the truth about anything? That's what he's saying. Hey, I'm a bad guy. I lie. I lied for cred. I lied for money. I lied for this. I lied for that. Like, you fools, you believe me. Like, well, I don't want to be done for murder because you believe this hype. That's what he's saying. In other words, of course, I'm paraphrasing, but you know what I mean? Idiot old man brags about being important isn't enough to sentence someone. Exactly, Liam. Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually was involved in killings back then, even if not this one. I mean, exactly. And that's the thing. Even if he was involved, is his own words in the book enough to convict him? Pre-trial shenanigans. Exactly, Turtle Moves. Don't you love it? Don't you love it? We're just putting it all out there, the pre-trial shenanigans and why we want to see this one. We actually do. Now, I wonder if in Vegas, in Nevada, if we're going to be able to see this one, this court. I do hope so. I'm going to do a little research. I do hope that we will be able to actually see this one live. Well, we'll see. But on that, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to move on to Carol to finish up. Then I have to choose if you are lying about being involved or lying about it. Exactly. Or just lying to lie because you can't help lying because lying, whatever makes you look good. Like, is it true today, but it won't be true tomorrow? Like, when does the lying stop and the truth come out? And like, how long does the truth last? Like, that could just keep going on and on and on. They've used similar testimony where they connected in self-testimony, but the witness is usually an officer or someone trustworthy. Exactly. Or somebody party to it. Right. Or lying about different lie about lying about it being a lie. You don't lie about murder for fame. Apparently he says you do, Mousy, to sell books. I don't know. Oh, convicted. Yes, Aaron, I kind of got it. Convicted in self-testimony. I get that. I feel like there's an old man yells at a cloud joke somewhere. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I'm glad you guys can see the bit of fascination I have with this. Yeah, a little bit. All right. And this was the guy. Let me just show you. This was the attorney that's out. I put a big red out. He's not got him anymore. We got so excited when we thought that this man was going to be defending him. That would have been some trial. That would have been a heavy hitter trial. But apparently he couldn't afford him. He couldn't afford to get out of jail either. So I don't know. His gang ties are not very profitable anymore. Hey, dog. Long time no see. Hope you're well, dude. It's good to see you here. Hope you're doing okay. Nice to have you here. All right, so let me switch this over again. Let's just go on to Carol. Let's just end this with a trial ending. Okay. Now, this trial was the second trial for Carol versus Trump that was about the first filed suit, which happened while Trump was actually the president. He made his defamatory statements during 2019, when she actually was promoting a book that she wrote and talked about her assault by him in the book, and then was doing a press junket about it. He went live, like during all of his campaign stuff, on stages and spoke, all over the place about her being demented, about it being she's a whack job. He never even met her, blah, 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 blah. This was held until they decided whether or not it could go forward while he was president because of immunity. You cannot be sued civilly if you hold office of any type while you're holding the office for interference of your job, for any kind of monetary civil suit or any time of that. Now, this was civil. Okay. The court went through and decided he could be charged afterwards. And so this trial, it finally went afterwards. After he was president, they were about to finally released through the Supreme Court that it could go forward, and the trial started at the beginning in January, on January 15th. This was the second trial. The first trial was after he was out of office. He defamed her all over the place even more, and that case was allowed to go forward, and he was found guilty of not rape, but of sexual assault based on how the New York code is, the penal code is written for the actual rape. The jury came back and gave a lesser of sexual battery without consent against her will, okay, but not the R word, and also the defamation, and awarded her $5 million. Okay, so she already won the second lawsuit, which was the first trial, which he then went on CNN right after the verdict and defamed her again. And so she added those statements that he made to this lawsuit. She amended it, and it went through. Okay. He countersued her because he was not convicted of the R word, only of sexual battery. So he said that he was defamed. Well, that got tossed out of court and lost on appeal to be countered. It was dismissed. The defense motion to stay was also dismissed on it based on the fact that the R word was not proven guilty because of the sexual battery. Nope. And because of the first trial, the judge again put in for summary judgment saying that we don't have to say whether she was defamed or not. She was. The first trial proved it, and they're the same statement. So now you only have to go forward with what your judgment is going to be. But still, there was a trial. In this trial, he showed up for. And if you were watching the news, you saw the circus that was. And I really don't want to get into that because it gets me very upset to see how they turned it into a circus. They didn't answer questions. Even the lawyers weren't acting like lawyers. They were acting like public relations agents. They were acting like they were on platforms for speech. The whole thing was a campaign stunt in a courtroom. So damn rude. I mean, they are separate things, okay? And I don't know why he feels so entitled that he is above everything, but he has absolutely no respect for the law. All right, so the plaintiff's summary judgment was granted, and Kaplan ruled on September 6th that Trump's denial was defamatory, leaving only the question of damages for the jury. And this is our lovely George Lewis Kaplan, okay? And so that was all granted. And on January 26th, the jury came back with the verdict in Carroll v. Trump for the second lawsuit. The jury says that Donald Trump must pay E Jean Carroll compensatory other than reputation repair program of $7.3 million, plus reputation repair program of $11 million, but punitive damages because he won't stop doing it of $65 million. He could have avoided that number. All he had to do was stop talking. Well, he did it. A total of $83.3 million. Okay. On top of the $5 he already owes her from the first trial. Okay. This picture of E Jean Carroll was as she left the court, like that day. All right. Today, the judgment actually came through. It is now filed and done, and it is ordered that he owes the $83.3 million. Boom. It's filed, done, accepted, verdict from the jury, done. This was them leaving the courthouse. The blonde on the other side of her is Roberta Kaplan, the other attorney. And the reason I mention her name is there's a whole bunch of stuff that happened after this verdict. Now, we're all happy. One thing that I do want to mention that happened that is important to me, okay, very important to me, because it's something that needed to change for a long time, okay? One thing that happened during this trial was that they could not actually convict him of violating her without consent for rape, okay, because of the way that the statute was listed. But after that happened, okay, in Albany, New York has decided to expand its legal definition of rape to include various forms of non-consensual sexual contact under a bill signed into the law by Governor Kathy Hochul on Tuesday. And that was Tuesday, February 2nd, 1st, I believe. Okay, the state's current limited definition was a factor in why E. Jean Carroll's defamation case against former President Trump. The jury in that federal civil trial rejected the writer's claim last May that Trump had raped her in the 1990s. Instead, they found the former president responsible for a lesser degree of a charge of sexual abuse, because the current law defines rape as vaginal penetration by a penis. It uses the word penis in the legal code. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. Here we use the real language, okay? So, the real language is the real language. The new law will broaden the definition to include non-consensual acts of anal, oral, and vaginal sexual content by devices and things, okay? So that if you do it by any means, any way, without consent, it will be rape. And that would solve the issue in this particular case. And I did link the article from NPR down there for you, or from the politics section. I think that this is great legislation going forward. I think it solves a problem. This is the kind of stuff I like to see happen, even in a civil case where something became evident that it just isn't working and some wrong was done that couldn't be justified. Justice couldn't be served because of some erroneous legal language, or legal language that no longer fits our society. Like how we have laws on the books that protect women and children from abuse and battery and harassment, but we leave men out. But I digress. I'm not going to go there today, okay, because I don't want to get my hackles in an uproar, so to speak. But this was a good thing. This was a really good thing. I don't want to celebrate the fact that a man has to pay millions of dollars because he's an asshole, although I do kind of celebrate it, as you all should, because he keeps doing it. The fact that punitive damages are more than anything else they could have put on the books for him because he won't shut up is a lesson he needs to learn. But that's besides the point. The fact that this case, that a woman 80 years old took the stand as a victim, was harassed, ridiculed, purposely bombarded day in and day out after all of this time since 2018, was strong enough to take that stand, tell her story, and vindicated, believed, and actually legislation will be changed in that state. Yay. Yay. That's a win. That's a win in the books, okay? That's a win in the books for why I'm out here anyway. All right. But this is not so good. All right. I'm going to try really hard to be fair here. But right after the jury gave the verdict, and it was all over the news, the New York Post came out with an article that said that there was a relationship between Judge Kaplan and Roberta Kaplan, that he mentored her in a law firm that they worked in years ago, and that they had an inappropriate relationship. Alina Habba sent a letter to the judge saying that they needed to vacate the verdict, turn the whole thing out, dismiss everything because of this inappropriate relationship, because she just found out about it from a New York Post article, which of course everybody thinks Alina Habba actually put in there because she was on this quick. So she says that there was this inappropriate relationship, and well, she ended up having to tuck in her tail and rescind, because once Roberta Kaplan wrote her letter that says, yes, everybody knows Judge Kaplan and I worked together years ago in a firm that has thousands of attorneys nationwide. We never had a case together. We never met. We never spoke. We never were in court together. We never did briefs together. We're not on any legal documents together. How is that a mentor? I didn't even know him. We worked for the same huge conglomerate company for about a year and a half, I guess, or so. Never even met. Well, Alina Hall, and then Roberta Kaplan was so pissed off, she actually put in there, and these kind of damaging accusations to my reputation should be sanctioned by another lawyer who didn't check the facts before they filed a motion before the judge, which is true. Alina Haba read a New York Post article and wrote a brief. Did she check the facts? Did she call anybody? Did she find out the source? No, the source of the article for the New York Post is someone who used to work at the law firm, but who refuses to provide their name. Alina Haba didn't check her facts, and she should be sanctioned. This is the kind of lawyering that was going on during this trial that made me sick. Made me sick. Sorry. Sorry, Alina Haba, but damn, I think you need to go back and retake your exam. Roberta Kaplan, she did say, just like she said it was a short period of time. She put her statements out immediately and filed her own letter motion to the judge, and she was right. And I do think Alina Haba, if not actually sanctioned for not knowing how to enter evidence and trying to bring tweets in that just happened without putting them into evidence the way that they should, even though you can do that during a trial if you follow procedure and you ask and answer questions, for actually grandstanding, for actually interrupting the judge, not keeping her client under control, using the whole thing as a PR stand to begin with. I mean, I just don't have a lot of respect. But I'm not a lawyer. I mean, so I can't actually speak on it that much. I just know it's not exactly the kind of stuff I like to see happening. I like it a little more respectful. I think judges deserve respect, regardless if you feel you're wrongly accused. The judge is there for a purpose. And, the best thing for you to do is to honor that respect, honor the process, and do, just get it done. If you actually have a case, provide it. But when you're doing all this theatrics and semantical, bullshit and stuff, it really makes it look like you didn't even actually have a case. You don't even know how to lawyer your case. And this is what you have to depend on. And that's a shame. That's a real shame. Roberta Kaplan, not so much. Big win on this case for Roberta Kaplan. And I hope Roberta Kaplan gets those sanctions against Alina Haba, just to show other lawyers you don't tear other people down without checking your facts. You don't especially write damn letters of motion to the judge without checking your facts. That's a bad move. And Alina Haba should pay for not doing due diligence. I also thought, this is Jackie Smith. Now, this is a dummy account on Twitter. I know it's not the real Smith, okay? But he really kind of put it in a nutshell how I feel about this double victory here for E Jean Carroll. Donald Trump did sexually assault E Jean Carroll. He was found liable in a court by law by a jury of his peers twice. He disparaged her, tried to break her, and destroy her reputation. His unhinged rhetoric spawned death threats to judges, to witnesses, to E Jean Carroll, and everyone around her. He was found liable for defamation in a court of law by a jury of his peers. He owes her $83.3 million in damages. E Jean Carroll took the hits and stood up to a vile bully. It's time for America to do the same. Okay. All right. I know that was a little too political for true crime, but there you go. There you go. Now, the other thing about the E Jean Carroll lawsuit is that, yes, he's going to appeal. He appealed the other one. This is what, when anybody loses a lawsuit, they're going to actually appeal. Okay. But guess what? If he wants to appeal, he has to pay $90 million to be held for the judgment to be able to do the appeal. Now, E Jean Carroll won't get the money. It'll be held aside. But for him to appeal, he's going to have to pay out first because this is the second judgment. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I was very, very happy. Right? I was happy. Very happy to hear that they're not going to let him just hold everything up. Oh, dog, that's such a nice thing to say. I have to admit, Claire has the most soothing voice on earth, even when she's mad. Thank you. I'm not too mad. In a way, I'm so happy. Yep. Karen, you're right. Roberta Kaplan is tough as nails too. Great attorney. She absolutely is. Yes, she is. Yep. Yeah. I am mad for hanging out with all of you, but I like it that way, Mark. I like it that way. I do. That is the most human picture I have seen of her. Most have been AI filtered. Do you mean Judge? Do you mean Roberta Kaplan, or do you mean Jean Carroll? I was just glad to see her grin. I really was. Yeah, why would you be on Twitter during a trial? I have no idea, but actually, Trump was during this trial like every day. And he did press conferences outside New York office, the New York courthouse when he went and go. But then when he was told that he couldn't testify by speech, he had to actually ask questions. Like his lawyers didn't want to ask him questions like other lawyers do, asked and answered. And he didn't want to have, be questioned by the prosecution, by the plaintiff rather, because this isn't criminal, this is civil, by the plaintiff. He wanted to just take the stand and make a speech, basically. And he was told by the judge that he could speak, but he would have to answer questions. Didn't really go well. She didn't even know how to enter evidence into the court. No, she didn't. And she was called out by the judge several times, and then she cried that he was picking on her because she was a pretty woman. Yeah. Which I found very offensive. Maybe it was because she was a dumb lawyer and she was making offense to the court and being disrespectful. I think it's more to do with that. It had nothing to do with her being a pretty woman. Sometimes truth is stronger than fiction. I am so glad. I don't. Dog, I am a nut job. Yeah. The upside. Yep. Alina Haba. Crazy. She's crazy. All right. On that, everybody, I think I'm going to call it. I thank you for joining me. I do hope that you will like, share, comment. If you have any other questions on this or any of the other cases, that's our four for the night. Quite interesting, all of them in their own different ways. Keep in mind, if you have cases that you do want me to cover, please don't be insulted if I don't take it on. There has to be something intriguing to me about it, as far as my passion being the legal side of it, to how laws can change or how precedent can be set with some of these, or just something really interesting in like evidence not being able to be submitted, like in our Shawnee Lean Crawl case, which he's a bad, bad man. And I'm not taking that case up because like I don't think he did it. I'm trying to figure out how they're going to convict him without the body when they actually messed up the evidence so much on the legal side of it. But, you know, there's quite a few interesting cases. I mean, there are two big ones out there right now, Trichonis in Montgomery, that are being covered everywhere. And they are actually interesting, but they don't really have a twist enough for me to cover. Plus, they're being really well covered elsewhere. And on that light, like, why? If I don't have anything to add to it, why do it, right? I've got quite a few active ones. I think I've got like 17 active cases right now. But I am looking at one that I found out about last night that I hadn't heard about a Texas teacher who was having an affair with a student. And again, like the Crumbly case, but different. Okay. A parent is being charged for aiding and abetting, you know. And I'm curious about this one, how it's going to play out, especially after watching the Crumbly trial, which Mom Crumbly, Jennifer Crumbly, was convicted. And that caused like a lot back and forth. Like, where do we draw the lines in regards to parents' responsibility? And I think on that, I've got a lot of DMs. And so I will answer. The main question in those DMs are, where are you on this? Like, where's the line? Where do you feel the line is? And I feel the line is with accountability and intent and knowledge. And they cannot deny that there were signs there. The school, although they didn't do enough, did present a problem to the parents in that case, and they chose not to take it seriously. They did buy the weapon that was used, okay? The child did repeatedly say he had issues and they didn't think it was serious. But worse than that, when everything happened, instead of saying, I could have done better, I'm sorry, there was no accountability. And I think all that jury and anyone anywhere that hears about this case wanted from Jennifer Crumbley was a little bit of accountability, which she refused to give. And I think that's why they found her guilty. Not that I think she's responsible for what her child did. Well, not caring enough about a better outcome. But that's all I got to say about that. Okay. Ciao, everybody. Tomorrow I will be back with Mrs. C, and we've got a surprise for you. Yeah, we're going to do something a little different. So everybody have a good night. I do believe that Grace Case and Mrs. C and Carly are over at Shenanigans tonight. So everybody head over there if you still want to chat, and have a good one, and maybe I'll see you over there. Was I the only one hoping not to hear the word homeschooled? It was not homeschooled. It was actually in a school. Okay. You're right, Wrecker. I've got a million cases. But on that, everybody, please have a good night. And thank you to my mods. Thank you to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Jen, it may be AITA. It may be what the F. It may be something. But y'all have a great, great night. Hey, man. All right. Head on over to Shenanigans, everybody. Bye, y'all. And could one of my mods please drop Shenanigans link if you please? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good one, guys.